of Assessment Criteria 1.3, Objectives of a Retail Business. You will see on this slide that we've got 4 topics: business, financial objectives, social objectives and retail specific objectives. Business and financial are broken down into subcategories, as you can see there, marked A through to D for each, so that we can actually spend a bit of time going through the detail on each and we can separate them and improve understanding. So if you see the superheroes, the super retail workers, that's where you get your help. Well, let's start the ball rolling. First of all, we're going to make sure you understand a business aim and the difference between a business aim and an objective. One is the overall goal, the aim, and the other is the steps in order to get there, the objectives. And you're going to have a go at applying these skills by writing your own aim and SMART objectives. The SMART, as you can see, is written as uppercase because it stands for something, which we'll cover later. The vocabulary for this lesson, obviously business aims and objectives, retail specific and market share. We've got the criteria of what you need to achieve there. You need to be able to describe the business aim. You need to describe what SMART stands for and know the difference between an aim and an objective. And some retail jobs, careers at the bottom. We have a retail liaison manager, a retail merchandiser and a sports retail manager. The work list for today is quite simple. We're going to look at school goals because that's what you deal with every day, 1 personal aim, 3 personal objectives, and then we've got a quick quiz on you check your understanding for task 4. Business objectives are based on business aims. Business aims are what the business wants to achieve in the future. Aims tend to be quite generic and broad and are the starting point for identifying business objectives. For example, our friend Gorm the gorilla, he wanted to be a world famous musician. That's a broad, generic, aspirational goal that he would like to achieve. However, now we're going to run it through SMART. Specific, measurable, attainable, relevant and time-bound goal setting criteria. We're going to run it through SMART so that Gorm knows what to do in order to achieve his aspirational goal. If he left it just as the aspiration, the one that you can see on the left, he won't really have any action in order to follow in order to achieve that goal. So here we go. Instead of being a world famous musician, he actually plays the bagpipes. So he's going to be specific in terms of the instrument. Measurable, he's going to talk about grade 1 instead of being just world famous. Attainable, well, that goes hand in hand with the grade 1 as well. If he's starting from the beginning, he can't exactly go to be world famous straight away. So his measurable and attainable goal is the grade 1. Relevant, well, that actually is Gorm because he is passionate about music, so he wants to play the bagpipes, so that's relevant for him. And finally, time bound, he's put a date on the end of it so that he knows he's got a goal, what he's going to achieve specifically and when he's going to achieve it by, so that he knows he's been successful. So as you can see, the aspirational goal, Gorm wanted to be a world famous musician, is fine, but in order to have actions, he needs to go through SMART for goal setting, which then turns his aspirational goal into reaching grade 1 on the bagpipes by the end of June next year. Objectives are goals that the retail business will set itself. These are used to measure the success of a business. Although these are personal to the individual, the concept is the same as it is for a business. We all need targets in our life to challenge us and make us put the effort in to achieve those targets. So businesses and people use this similar process. Businesses are not the only organisations that have objectives. Our school, our college that you might know of, football teams, police service, government all have objectives. Individuals also have objectives. Task 1. List one of the things, well, at least one of the things, objectives basically, that HLC aims to achieve for its students. So what is it that we talk about in terms of when you leave school, what do we want you to have? Question for you. Did you make that generic in terms of a good education, and quality GCSEs, or were you specific and used SMART in terms of the number of GCSEs and the grades? So make sure you've updated it and put the SMART version in, as well as the overall aim. Well, this one's about you. Write one aim, one goal in the space below that you want to achieve. This may be based on your school progress or any other aspect of your life you want to use your goal about. Well, now we put it into action. Now you have your goal, your generic overarching goal that you want to achieve. I'd like you to write 3 objectives, 3 specific SMART objectives, a bit like Gorm, that you need to do in order to achieve your goal. And we're going to put a time scale of this year. So these again can be based on your school progress or any other aspects of your life, but they're most definitely going to be using SMART. So now you've got your head around business aims and objectives, personal aims and objectives. Let's really go back to the business ones, the retail ones. These can be grouped into the following categories: business, financial, social and retail specific. The first one, business. There are 4 areas of the business goals here: survival, growth, increased market share and customer satisfaction. Now these are all about business as a whole. Can the business survive? Think about things in the worst economic climate you can think of, around about 2020. And what does the business need to do, retail or otherwise, in order to survive? Keep the costs down, keep the sales up. Growth. What ways can the business grow? Things like expanding their product range, opening more retail outlets, things like that. Increase market share. Now if they are the ice cream seller, they want to be the #1 ice cream seller, and they want to be the one where everyone goes to that ice cream seller in order to buy their ice cream. That's the market share. Customer satisfaction. Again, these are things related to the business, not specifically money, because customer satisfaction will help them with their reputation. Happy customers will keep coming back, and they'll also be loyal, and they'll also actually be brand ambassadors. They'll talk about how good the company is to other potential customers. Financial objectives. As you can imagine, these are about the money part of the business. Break even. We'll cover this later, but break even is where the company makes enough money to cover all their costs, but only cover their costs, so they've not yet made profit. Increasing sales revenue. So sales revenue is the amount of products that you sell. So that's the price times quantity sold, and that gives you how much revenue that you have. So you want to increase it. Increasing your profit. These are all your sales, and what can you do to increase your sales? And the final one is reducing costs. Any business has costs in terms of raw materials, in terms of electricity, rent, the fixed costs. So these are costs that a company might want to reduce. Social objectives. Retailers realise that they operate in the wider community, and they may focus on ethical, environmental issues or helping the local community. Things like the cooperative, the one we've just covered, helping the community. Environmental issues, things like making sure there's no use of plastic. Ethical, things like making sure you offer fair trade products. These are all social objective examples. And the last one, retail specific. After all, we are doing retail business. The previous 3 can apply to any business. However, specific to retail could be introducing click and collect, offering concessions, training staff because you've looked at the conversion rate on footfall, improving stock control, things like this as some examples. Retail specific objectives are a lot bigger than this though. Now you're on task 4, check your understanding, the final task. Try and do this without going back over the last slides as much as possible. You have 4 questions, you've got a box to fill in for each. Off we go. Number 1, what is a business objective? Number 2, what is a financial objective? Now remember, question 1 and 2 are objectives, they're not talking about aims. So we now want your definition of a financial objective. Question 3, what is the difference between a financial objective and a social objective? So this is making sure you understand the difference, particularly social objective. And the last question, number 4, give an extra example, not the one that you'll see on the last slide, of a retail specific objective. Think about things a retailer would like to improve and try and come up with your suggestion of one of the things they'd like to do, what action they'd like to take in order to improve their retail space, their retail outcome, their retail objectives. Well done, you finished the first lesson on 1.3, business objectives, retail objectives, 4 actions, 4 tasks you need to complete. It wasn't that painful after all.